Morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to Global Atheist News Roundup, dateline the 16th of September 2023. This week's headlines. An Indian Muslim couple were beaten to death over their son's romantic relationship. Iran's gender apartheid bill could jail women for 10 years for not wearing the hijab. Over 100 members of persecuted religious minorities are held at the Turkish border. In Switzerland, hundreds of sex abuse cases are the tip of the iceberg, says researchers. Christian lawmakers push the battle over church and state following Roe v. Wade overturning. Reports of forced retirement prompt defiance from the embattled Bishop Strickland. Former AFA vice president sues that Christian right group for alleged sexual harassment. US evangelicals exposed Welsh pupils to homophobia and creationism. The Pope surprises Sylvester Stallone with a punch in their Vatican meeting. And a little Christian monster appears on video. In a shocking incident in Uttar Pradesh, India, a Muslim couple was brutally beaten to death with iron rods and sticks by their neighbours due to their son's romantic relationship with their daughter, who is from the Hindu faith. See this video.
Indian Muslim couple beaten to death over son's romantic relationship. In a shocking incident in Uttar Pradesh, India, a Muslim couple was brutally beaten to death with iron rods and sticks by their neighbors due to their son Shauqat's romantic relationship with their neighbor's daughter, who is from the Hindu faith. According to Sitapur Superintendent of Police Chakresh Mishra, the violent altercation stemmed from the long-standing tension between the two families. In 2020, Shauqat eloped with the neighbor's daughter, who was then a minor, leading to his imprisonment for almost 3 years. He was arrested on August 16th, and although the young woman had since been married off to another man, she eloped once again to be with Shauqat, further enraging her family. Quote, the girl eloped from her husband's house and got married to Shauqat. Another FIR, which is a formal police complaint, was filed against him in April 2023. However, the girl was an adult by then and told the court that she wanted to live with Shauqat, Mishra said. The deadly confrontation occurred when a 5-member gang, including the woman's father, confronted the couple at their home. Quote, the accused came to my house and started beating my mother and father with the intention of killing them, stated the couple's daughter in the FIR. 3 suspects have been arrested, and the search for 2 others continued, heightening tensions in the community.
Women in Iran face up to 10 years in prison if they continue to defy the country's mandatory hijab law, under harsher laws awaiting approval by authorities. Even businesses that serve women without a hijab face being shut down. The stricter dress code, which amounts to gender apartheid, UN experts said, comes 1 year after the death in custody of Mahsa Amini, 22, who had been detained for allegedly wearing the Islamic headscarf incorrectly. Her death, after allegedly being beaten by police, led to the largest wave of popular unrest for years in Iran. The length of prison sentences contained in the draft law was comparable to those for serious offences such as murder and drug trafficking, said Iranian human rights lawyer Hossein Raisi. That's ridiculous to even think about. The Hijab and Chastity Bill details punishments including more than 60 lashes, heavy fines, and prison terms. It also warns businesses of closure and other serious consequences if found to be providing services to women with improper dress. Elnaz, an Iranian journalist, said, "With the new law, the government is telling us women that we will go to prison for up to 10 years if we don't wear a hijab. What next? A death penalty for defying the new hijab law?" The draft law follows renewed patrolling by the morality police and widens gender segregation in universities, hospitals, parks, and workplaces. It amounts to an apparent attempt at suppressing women and girls into total submission, said a group of UN Human Rights Council appointed experts. An official inquiry into the Roman Catholic Church in Switzerland has identified nearly 1,000 cases of sexual abuse since 1950. Many involved children, and 56% of the victims were male, the report said. The vast majority of the accused were also men. Researchers from the University of Zurich also found evidence of a widespread cover-up. "The cases we identified are without a doubt only the tip of the iceberg," said the study's leads Monica Doman and Marietta Meyer, who compiled the report following a year-long investigation which was commissioned by church authorities. They were given access to church archives and also held interviews with several people, including those affected by sexual abuse. However, they said, numerous other documents had not been made available yet. The researchers also found evidence that records had been destroyed at 2 dioceses and that not all reported cases of sexual abuse were written down and consequently archived. Given what we know from research on the dark figure of crime, we assume that only a small percentage of cases was ever reported in the first place, said Mrs. Doman and Mrs. Meyer. More than half of the cases identified happened during instances where pastoral care was taking place, particularly during confession, altar service, and religious education in children's clubs and associations. A further 30% of abuse was found to have been committed in institutions including Catholic children's homes, day schools, and boarding schools. As well as documenting instances of sexual abuse, the researchers also looked at how church officials dealt with these cases and said many were kept secret, covered up, or trivialized. Their report criticized various officials, including bishops, for not doing more to help those affected. Clerics accused of committing abuse were found to have been systematically reassigned to other posts by those in positions of power, sometimes abroad, to avoid being prosecuted. A collection of state legislators and local government officials from across the country gathered in southern Virginia this summer with one unifying purpose. They're members of the National Association of Christian Lawmakers, which, in past years, has distributed at least 15 pieces of model legislation to conservative lawmakers in various states. Measures to ban abortion, restrict gender-affirming care, and condemn gay marriage. The group's goal is to change the social fabric of the country and return America to what it says are its Judeo-Christian origins. And members are capitalizing on the momentum that the long-sought end of Roe v. Wade has given them to pass their vision of biblically informed law. Jason Rappert, a former Arkansas state senator, founded the group in 2019. He pushed for construction of a Ten Commandments monument at the Arkansas State House and has relentlessly opposed gay marriage. He describes the NACL as a place for lawmakers to debate, construct, and distribute model legislation from a biblical worldview. NACL members must sign a pledge voicing their opposition to gay marriage, affirming belief in life at conception, and endorsing the idea that Christianity shaped America and made it what it is today. As rumours swirl that Pope Francis may ask for the resignation of Catholic Bishop Joseph Strickland, the firebrand conservative who oversees the Diocese of Tyler in Texas, said he has heard nothing from the Vatican but signalled that he would not give up his post voluntarily. According to public Vatican records, Pope Francis met on Saturday with Archbishop Robert Prevost, prefect of the Vatican Dicastery for Bishops, and Archbishop Christophe Pierre, the papal nuncio or ambassador to the United States. What the three discussed in the meeting was not made public, but a conservative-leaning website, The Pillar, has claimed the meeting touched on whether to ask for the resignation of Strickland, who has stoked controversy in recent years for everything from resistance to COVID-19 vaccines to criticising the Pope. On Tuesday, Strickland told Religion News Service he was unaware of any resignation request from the Vatican, saying, "I've received no information on this from Rome." Asked whether he would resign if the Pope asked, Strickland suggested he would resist, possibly forcing the Vatican to remove him. "As a basic principle, I cannot resign the mandate given to me by Pope Benedict XVI, he wrote. Of course, that mandate can be rescinded by Pope Francis, but I cannot voluntarily abandon the flock that I have been given charge of as a successor of the apostles." A former VP of the American Family Association, a Mississippi-based conservative group that promotes the biblical ethic of decency in American society, has sued that religious right group, accusing its leaders of firing him after he reported alleged sexual harassment and financial irregularities. In a complaint filed on Tuesday, September the 5th, Robert Chambers, former Vice President of Policy and Legislative Affairs for AFA from 2015 to 2022, alleges that another staffer, Ron Cook, made repeated sexual advances towards him, beginning in January of 2022. Those advances included, allegedly, grabbing hold of Chambers' face and ear and making comments about masturbation. "I see you're really good with that wrist action," the complaint alleges. "You'd really like me to take you and get a hold of you," said Cook. So it is alleged. Chambers claimed he was fired for reporting the harassment. The complaint alleges that AFA and its leaders violated federal law by retaliating against him as a whistleblower, creating a hostile environment at work, unlawfully terminating him, and slandering him. An American church partnered with over 20 schools in Wales and exposed students to homophobic beliefs and creationism, a new documentary by the News Movement has revealed. Members of the evangelical Louisiana-based First West Baptist Church visited the schools in Wales as part of a cultural exchange between 2009 and 2018. First West Baptist claimed the partnership was established when they offered to provide help after a spike in suicides among young people in Bridgend in South Wales. The evangelicals would not only provide entertainment in the form of concerts and sports events, but also led classes on history, maths and science. A biology teacher said she felt uneasy when her class were told creationism was true and Darwin and science has been a lie, which she described as misinformation. One student claimed they were told by church members that gay couples should not marry. The church's website describes homosexuality as a form of sexual immorality, along with pornography and adultery. It also opposes abortion. The student complained to his head of year and was told the church would not return, only for them to be invited back the next year. Another student alleged the evangelicals used their concerts and entertainment events to proselytize students. She says students at one show were instructed to raise their hands if they had converted to Christianity, and she worried that gay and lesbian students at the school would no longer be accepted by their peers who had converted. In addition to schools, the evangelicals also visited youth groups, churches, and old people's homes. It has been estimated that evangelicals engaged with over 12,000 people in South Wales. The partnership only ended with the outbreak of the COVID pandemic, although First West Baptist has said it is open to a return to South Wales in 2024. Bridgen's member of the Senate, Sarah Murphy, said she was shocked that the partnership had been going on for so long and that it raised serious questions. A Welsh government spokesperson said, "Young people have a right to be heard and feel respected at school. They should not be made to feel uncomfortable." They added that evolution is a mandatory component of the Welsh curriculum. National Secular Society campaigns officer Alejandro Sanchez says, American evangelicals have exploited a local tragedy in South Wales to evangelize school children and expose them to religious homophobia and scientific misinformation. Synod member Murphy is right to be shocked that this church was allowed to proselytize in Welsh schools for almost a decade. We must ensure this cannot happen again. See this video.
It's just misinformation, but it goes against my beliefs as a teacher and my role as a teacher.
This is Bridgend. It's not far from Cardiff in Wales. It's a quiet place. Apart from some pretty nice beaches, there's not a lot that it's known for. It's my home. My name is Anwen, and I grew up and went to school in Bridgend. And this is a story about something that happened here that not a lot of people know about. Bridgend is about as normal as anywhere can be. But I've been investigating how an American evangelical church brought over their conservative values to this town's schools and trying to figure out why, when people complained, nothing was done. And it all started with a series of tragedies.
There's been another suspected suicide in South Wales. The latest involves a 28-year-old man. Since the beginning of last year, 22 young people from Bridgend County are now thought to have taken their life.
In 2007, Bridgend was getting lots of attention. In a 2-year period, at least 20 young people were recorded as taking their own lives. Bridgend was labelled the suicide capital of Britain. The media speculated that the deaths were caused by a cult or an internet gang. But nobody was ever able to explain why this happened, and instead, the community was left grieving and looking for answers.
This is Kevin Common, and it's about 5 minutes away from my school. It was just down that road there, and loads of my friends lived on this street or in this area. But in 2007, just on the other side of this grass is where they found a 16-year-old girl who had taken her own life. And coming back here just shows how close these deaths were to the community.
I was only 7 at the time of the suicides, so I can't really remember what it was like here. Hello? But my dad was a teacher in a Bridgend school at the time, and he remembers the panic.
Bridgend really started to have a bit of a reputation, and as soon as you met anybody and you said you worked in Bridgend, oh right, yeah, they made the emotional link. But it was a really worrying time.
So how were the schools, responding to this, and what action did they kind of take?
We were open to help, and we did reach out to external agencies and any group that really could offer some support, helplines and charities that could offer emotional support. We were well open to help from anywhere, really.
Little did we know in 2008, when we were introduced to the possibility of ministry and the need for ministry in Wales.
That's Mark Fenn, a Christian pastor from Louisiana in the USA. And since 2008, his church has been visiting Bridgend schools every year.
What this would develop into.
We'll get back to him later. Now, you need to know that my school was one of the ones his church visited. I was 11 years old when they first visited my school, and they were the first Americans I'd ever met. I remember they all walked into our assembly with matching red polos on, carrying guitars, and I immediately assumed they were famous.
At Bridgend Light Center, we're going to blow the roof off the place. We're going to have a party.
They would perform concerts for us and bring in entertainers like bodybuilders and football freestylers.
I even remember asking one of them for their autograph.
But not everyone has the same positive memories of the visit. This is Will. He went to a school 5 minutes down the road from mine. The First West Baptist Church visited his school too.
When I got into my religious class, they didn't really say much then. As the years went on, it progressed into us asking more questions towards them. And that's when the issues started to happen, because it was us asking them what they thought about equal rights and gay marriage. And that's when they came back saying, we don't stand by this. We don't believe that gay people should get married. It's basically saying I should be above you, to me. I was very sure of myself at the time when these Christians were coming, and that's why I started to actually challenge them and thought, this isn't for me, because they're not representing me. They have to be against me.
The thing is, Will actually did complain about the comments to his head of year.
It was a big challenge for me. I was very upset, very angry by it. And there was an entire assembly about it then the next day, where my head of year, he sat my entire year group down and then went through this big, not uproar, but very challenging talk about they're never going to come back, we're not going to do this, we are not these people, we are not represented by these people, and we are an equal school. But they still showed up the next year. We were still forced to go through those lessons. At the end of the day, if you're not going to fulfill those promises that you make, it is just a lie, isn't it?
Sylvester Stallone visited the Vatican on Friday, September the 8th, where he discovered, to his surprise, that Pope Francis is a huge fan of his films. Here's another video.
This is my wife.
Good morning.
My daughters. Great. And my brother Frank.
Good morning, sister.
And my brother Frank. Well, thank you very much taking time with your busy days. We appreciate this very much. Oh, thank you. I'm honored too.
Siamo cresciuti con I vostri figli. We grew up with your films.
Ready? Relax. Yeah, ready.
And finally, I'm a Little Christian and a Little Monster is also a video.
Can't deny that I love Jesus Christ. He died for sins. Can't deny that I love Jesus Christ. He died for sins. I'm a Christian woman. Christian woman.
And stay on this channel to watch Tercia and I chat with guest Tom Enders, who has an interesting story about being abused as an atheist and becoming a Christian anti-evangelical cult activist. I'm not sure what that means, but you can join in. It's a live show. And don't forget to watch Views on the News, the show where our opinionated panel give their views on the items I have just reported. This has been Global Atheist News. Please like, subscribe and share. Thank you for watching.